Hello, hello.
Mr. Nic Davis.
How's it going,
Here,
John?
here we are again, kind sir.
Yeah, here we are. It's what? We're now into April. We last talked, it was about a
March.
week left in March. It
Pleasure to
feels like
see
it's
you.
flying by, huh? What's that?
I said it's a pleasure to see you, Nick.
Good to see you too,
Yeah,
as always.
as always.
So what's new? You,
Well,
you driving
on
any cool customers lately?
Saturday,
Oh yeah,
on
go ahead.
Saturday, I joined the 4 million. I believe it was 4 million people
Oh,
who were
nice.
demonstrating
Excellent.
against the ongoing insanity.
Yeah.
Um, we had a get together in Milwaukee, which had 30,000,
Oh
but
wow.
which is great. But I went to a little town, little rural town, somewhat near me. I thought it would be a little more doable. 1,000 people. There was no marching. It was standing on a street corner.
Mm-hmm.
500 fanning out in one direction, and you know, and 500 in the other direction of the intersection. And signs and
Yeah.
nonstop honking support.
Oh, good.
It was
That's awesome.
cold. It was cold out. I stayed there for about an hour and a half. Um, that wasn't, as long as it went, but I figured I'd proven my point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and,
No,
and, and it was really nice. I talked to this little old lady. She was in her 80s.
yeah.
Clara. She was about 4'10",
Okay.
and couldn't have been cuter.
Yeah.
Just so cute. And she's told me about 3 times. I drove here myself. I drove here myself. I drove here myself. They're sabotaging everything, and I won't stand for it.
Oh,
It was
that's
beautiful.
that's beautiful.
Yeah, it was beautiful. And my favorite sign of the day, hold on, was this the theme was keep your hands off.
Yeah, hands off, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And there was one sign, a poster, it said tiny hands off. And somebody had removed the tiny hands of a doll and stuck them onto the poster.
Oh, funny.
So tiny hands off, and there's these little hands.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
It was a feel good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple people online are saying, "What do you hope to gain from this? You're not going to get anywhere with this." Well, it's true. Is no real practical. I mean, it's over Trump's head. What we're doing and
Yeah.
saying, but I think it galvanizes people. It
Yeah.
makes people feel not alone.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. No. And I think that yeah, it galvanizes people, and I you might be able to tell, but I'm a little under the weather, so I did not make my way out into the public this weekend. But what I did see in some of the video on social media of all the different rallies, um, is it? I think it really brought together a lot of people who are feeling similarly, and maybe um, you know the isolation that you feel from what putting one another down. It's us against them. I think that, like you said, it really just. I think there are people from all walks of life. From what I hear and what I saw in videos, was this wasn't a rally of the younger generation kind of protesting. This was people in my age group demographic, your age demographic, that
And
are
older.
really, that are and older, that are really concerned about um, how they're going to be able to live through some of this. I mean, I think with our younger generation, there's this perception of, oh well, I've got time. What's happening to my 401k right now? I just set it and forget it. Well, there's people who are literally looking at, right now tapping into it, or were considering retiring. and yeah,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is really coming full circle.
And at
Oh,
one point,
we got a let's see, we got some chat here. Let's say hi to a few folks that are tuning in today, real quick. Oh,
cat's up.
that's up. Thank you. I hope to feel better soon too. I think hopefully I'm hitting the peak and the worst of it, and on the way to the feeling better soon. And then we've got Black Raven. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, Black Raven. Good to see you.
Hi, Corey. I was thinking about you with the flooding that's going on in Frankfort, Kentucky, with our mutual friend. No, she doesn't live there anymore, but we have a shared friend who was from Frankfort.
Oh,
Frankfort, Kentucky is massively flooded.
right. Yeah.
And I thought of a couple friends of mine that are still living there. Um, and I hope that you're okay, Corey. I hope it's not too bad where you are. Um, but I wanted to say one thing. Well, good to hear from Cats Up, who is literally down the hall from me, and and who I saw 15 minutes ago. Well, I'm going to go in and do the show now. But at one point, we were all standing there in the demonstration, and somebody drove by in a car and shouted out, "Trump!" And he went on by, and we're all kind of silently looking at each other. And I said, "And rape!"
Oh God.
And it kind of broke the. Everybody was like, "Absolutely, that's what this guy's standing for."
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Uh,
Yeah. Oh.
so
Yeah.
anyway,
Oh boy.
that was the day's festivities of Saturday. But we do have a nice presentation today, which I'd kind of like to get to.
Yeah. Let's do it.
First things first, though. First things first.
Oh, we got our pot. What do we got? What do we got? Some seeds in there? We got to get put some
No,
new seeds.
I gave up on that. For those who are watching for the first time, we've been trying to have a class project of growing some, what were they? Impatiens, and they
Yeah,
flopped.
we were really impatient.
Yes, they
Impatient.
flopped.
That's
I
why they're
poured,
bugging.
I poured the soil out into my mulch in the garden.
Okay.
Who knows? Maybe I'll get impatiens this summer.
Yeah, when you're not thinking about being patient.
I'm trying to get carrots.
Yeah.
Instead, we have snapdragons
Okay.
in this new batch. We're going to see if John, the anti-green thumb, we're watering it right now. Class project.
All right.
There you go. These snapdragon seeds are like little. They're as big and as substantial as a grain of sand.
Oh,
Very
wow.
tiny. Yeah. So they're in there now, and we've watered them. That's the second watering.
Okay.
So let's see if we can do better than we did.
What's the growth timeline on that?
Yeah, I think it said 110 days.
Okay. Cool. Um so Black Raven did say grateful higher in the hills now, and and gratefully in the sun now. Excited. Yeah, flowers are watered and ready to rise. So,
Outstanding.
yeah.
That's outstanding. Beautiful. Well, our flowers are watered too. We'll see how they do.
See the snapdragon soon. So,
Yeah. All right. So, this is the presentation, my friend. Are you ready for it, or did you want to say something else?
oh, I'm ready. We're good.
I was thinking about this podcast
Hmm.
and also thinking about St. Patrick's Day.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The St. Patrick's Day was what triggered this. I made an offhand comment on Facebook. I said, we're all talking about St. Patrick, but I'm thinking about the firebrand revolutionaries,
Okay.
such as Lady Gregory, William Butler Yeats, um, Maud Gonne,
Okay.
Sean O'Casey, and others who fought for Irish independence. And then I started to think about that, and I thought, going back to our podcast theme of December and January of coping with the polycrisis,
Right.
and we're going to do a brief summary of what the polycrisis is for those who don't know. And what are some lessons that we can learn from the Irish resistance?
Uh-huh.
You know, so
Yeah.
that's what I've come up with today.
Okay.
And if somebody wants, in the briefest of summaries, I'll do that now, and then we'll talk about what the polycrisis is, and then we'll go a little bit deeper into the Irish thing. But they were rebellion through beauty.
Rebellion through beauty.
Yes, I think that's really,
Yeah.
really cool. Um, in the sense of, um, I watched like 5 or 6 videos on these people in the last 2 weeks. And one person said that Yeats and Lady Gregory, being the leaders of the whole thing, reinvented the Irish character.
Mm.
What was happening was they were being colonized by the English.
Right.
And um, in the 1890s, Yeats and Lady Gregory and their compadres, Maud Gonne is one famous person. Um, they said they started listening very closely to the stories of the common people of Ireland and
Mm.
taking it all down, and also listening very closely to the folklore
Okay.
of Ireland, the mythology. And they started to blend the two into stories.
Mm.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
And they came up with plays. Um, they came up with poems. They came up with music. They
Right.
came up with paintings. They came up with a burst of enthusiasm for the Irish landscape. Um, I wrote down some other things that they came up with. Craft in general. So weaving,
Right.
quilting, um, as well as um, really interesting stuff like seances. There was like this mad, this embrace of sort of the occult.
Okay.
They were shaking off the Church of England and the
Right.
domination, and they were going back to their own indigenous way of being.
Right.
And they established a national theater, the Abbey Theater in Dublin.
Mhm.
They got into their own cuisine, their own Guinness,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and threw off all of the well, he's tried to throw off and the Englandization of their culture.
Right.
They
Right.
say, "Who are we distinct? Who are we distinctively?" And also, we don't want to just do leprechauns and corny stuff. We
Right.
want to be, ourselves
Yeah.
in a new way. And so it was really a beautiful and an intense and a passionate time. The presentations and the videos were really boring. They did not present the intense, passionate beauty of it, but I was able to glean it anyway.
Right.
For instance, there's a play. Kathleen Nehulahan is the name of the play.
Okay.
Um, Kathleen is um, like the little old woman who lived in a shoe. She's got people in her house, in her uh, estate. It's crowded. It's overwhelming, and the whole time in the play, she's dressed in rags, and her face is kind of shrouded, and she's complaining about having so many people in her house. Finally, near the end, she's able to kick them out. And when that happens, when she starts to live alone, she pulls off her rags and pulls off her shroud, and she's revealed to be Maud Gone, who was um, the trying to think of who it would be. Well, the rare beauty as well as the firebrand of
Yeah.
Ireland at that time. So she's got a strong back, she's shoulders back, her hair is inflamed, and everybody sees this is the soul of Ireland.
Right.
She's not shrouded and in rags anymore, but she's a being of magnificence, the spirit, the radiant spirit. And this was a message that this was who Ireland really was.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So I'm going to do a little backtracking for people who haven't seen us before.
Okay.
Just a second here. I've got it. My computer is there. You go. Um, and remind people who haven't, who have or who have not heard us talk about the polycrisis, and this will not be a long,
Okay.
uh, half-hour thing. But what we've been talking about, in recent months, is what faces humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I'm bringing it up is because, in my opinion, we have a new wrinkle to it. Oh, I'm alone on the screen right now. I think that means that my buddy is sneezing. Um, okay,
We're good.
you're back. You got a
Yeah.
good sneeze in?
Yeah, we're good.
Hallelujah. All right, so the polycrisis, um, a cascading effects of numerous problems: mental health, depression. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about each one. People can go back and look at our other podcast episodes. Loneliness, suicide on the rise, anorexia, school shootings.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a crisis. Uh, did I mention drug addiction? Fentanyl, crystal meth, and heroin addictions on a crisis level. But that's not alone. There's also wealth inequality, worst it
Right.
has been since the 20s.
Mm-hmm.
We've got 5 billionaires have more money than 40% of the population. Um, creates economic suffering and resentment.
Mm-hmm.
We have distrust. A major development of the last 20 years has been um, distrust of one another, of the Supreme Court, of media, of political parties, of FEMA, of climate scientists, of vaccine scientists, of the police,
Right.
you know, um, so that we're truly divided, and
Yeah.
there's so much distrust, and there's signs on people's lawns that are sort of like symbolize who they're in favor of.
Yeah.
You can kind of communicate. Like a liberal sign is one of these things that says, um, this house is for nonviolence and
Yeah.
trans rights and
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And conservative is we back the blue,
Right.
right? So anyway, wealth inequality, distrust, mental health, ecological degradation, all these things are working together. Ecological degradation is the collapse of biodiversity.
Mm-hmm.
I heard the other day that 80% of the bee population of the United States has vanished in the last 6 months.
Whoa. Wow.
Yes. Isn't that scary?
That is scary. Good grief.
Because bees,
Yeah.
your mother could come in, but I mean, we need them for apples, don't we?
Oh, we need them for everything. I mean,
Yeah. Pears.
anything that's produced, grown. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything that grows.
All of our pollinators are needed, and more of them.
Yes.
And I mean,
So,
there's a lot of, I mean, there's more predatory species out there to bees. There's just use of pesticides that are just
mhm.
rampant, despite lawsuits left and right. I mean, yeah. Um, so yeah, this poly crisis, it's on so many levels of socio-economic, science, global, not just our environmental health, but our population health, um, all coming to a collide at this juncture in history with those who have also are grabbing for power. You know, um, it's
Increased severity of natural disasters. Since you and I did did this
yeah,
subject, there was the fires in L.A.
fires in LA. I think we were in the middle of this subject when both the hurricanes tore through the Carolinas, Tennessee, Florida. Um, yeah, and
And
then
now, my former hometown, I lived in this city called Frankfort, Kentucky.
right,
My late wife died there.
okay,
Frankfort, Kentucky has a lot of meaning to me. We had our little girls, they're living with us in their tenderest years.
yeah,
They're having, like I mentioned at the top of the show, they're having severe um, flooding.
right.
The worst since like 1910. Right
Jeez,
now.
wow,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's hard.
So natural disasters, and then there's also education crisis. At least in the United States, we were for decades
Yeah,
number one in the world.
right.
I saw the other day that we're number 30 now.
Yeah, and I hear a lot of, and I'm glad you mentioned that. I hear a lot of, well, this is why we need to do something about the Department of Education from the Trump camp or from the right wing camp, whatever you want to call it. And I just think to myself, actually, what would we be if we didn't have a
Right.
robust Department of Education, right?
Yeah.
Like we recognized that we were going to fall behind, that we reigned sort of supreme in terms of education, and that the rest of the world was going to catch up, and they were going to apply that model, apply that the importance and significance of education, and they were going to catch up. It's because we led with a model that others could utilize, that others have caught up. And what would we be if we didn't have all those Department of Education resources and programs? So I think it's silly when you're like, well, look how not helpful it was as a justification of not needing. And it's like, well, gosh, like that just shows you how hard it was to maintain being at a high level in global rankings in education. So yeah, you can't let your foot off the gas when it comes to that kind of stuff. But apparently, people who make those decisions are of a different mindset right now. So
Well, they don't want to be woke.
right.
Speaking
But
of
oh,
education,
speaking of woke,
I was
you
going to
talk.
say, do you want to show us your T-shirt?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, thanks. Yeah, yeah. So I mentioned this in the last one. So I got it the day after. There was the 24th. There was a demonstration in Boise, Idaho, or that area, for a teacher who was asked to remove a sign in her classroom. It was exactly this sign. I mean, a little longer, but and a t-shirt company in the local area decided that in protest of it, they would have a day of everyone supporting this teacher, and they put out a bunch of shirts, and they got so many orders and demands that they actually had to shut off orders. I was lucky enough to get my order in, but it didn't show up until the day after the demonstration and our last show. But so I decided I'd wear it for this one. But
Everyone is welcome here,
that's right.
and that's illegal.
Well, they were asked by the school board to remove it.
Yeah, she wasn't arrested, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and
frowned upon.
yeah. So
Everyone is welcome here.
yeah, and I mean, gosh, just a shout out to, and I don't know if we get any teachers listening in, but
Yeah,
what a tough time to be a teacher. Um, and I there's so many that are standing up for, students and what education should look like, and really being, who, regardless of trying to squash DEI, they're really holding the line of hey, um, we still want to be welcoming to everybody, um, even though we might be punished for even saying something like that. So yeah,
shout out to everyone, all the
yeah,
teachers.
all those teachers,
So this is the poly crisis as we defined it in January or whenever that was, December. The
yeah,
meta crisis, the pickle,
right,
and we've got a new wrinkle in it now,
right, okay,
which is potential worldwide recession.
right,
Due to this
yeah,
tariff shenanigans,
trade war, yeah,
trade war. One guy his name is Bill Ackman.
okay,
He's a hedge fund manager who has been a outspoken supporter of Donald Trump,
okay,
staunch. And he said yesterday, some talk show, that we could be heading into a economic nuclear winter.
oh wow,
Yeah,
he used those terms,
Trump
huh?
supporter. I hope
Hmm.
he's wrong, but nonetheless, let's say he's wrong, but nonetheless, we could face. I think we're going to face some level of difficulty. We've already lost like $4 trillion worth of wealth in the last week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wow,
So in the midst of this poly crisis, you and I have talked about the four things to do, orientations. And I think it's just wise to go back and look at them,
mm-hmm.
um, because I just don't want to state them in December and then move on.
Right,
Wake
yeah,
up, clean up, grow up, and show up. And like I did with the elements of the podcast, I don't want to dwell on each of them too long, but
right,
it's wake up is um, basically from the slumber of thinking that you're alone
right,
or thinking that you are a uh, isolated, skin encapsulated ego at war with the world,
right,
which ultimately is going to win. You're ultimately going to die. So it makes for a miserable experience.
yeah,
I'm alone.
right,
I'm struggling, and like I took pains to scribe in December or January, there is a sense in which that's a relative truth. You do. I'm the only one that can pay my bills, or
Right.
when I go to this house, I don't expect 16 people to be here. This is
Right.
my address. So there is a
There's an ownership, there's an accountability piece that's helpful and useful.
yes.
And it's, that's about the extent of it, your
Yeah,
sphere of influence. And then there's that which you're a bigger part of.
exactly. The waking up is to our interconnectedness. Yeah, I tell you, Nick, I've told you, I did the math the other day. What is it now? 5, 6, 6, 11, 715 hours of meditation in the
Oh,
last 29 months.
ooh,
Yeah. And the
nice.
one thing, and the one thing that happens as a result of that is that you truly soften the edges of individuality,
Oh.
and it melts down. I have this image that it's like uh, thinking of yourself as a skin encapsulated ego is an artificial light bulb,
Mm-hmm.
and you take that off, and what emerges is a natural glow, a natural light of solidarity
Right.
with people. It
Interesting.
really, I taste that now much
Wow.
more than much more than I've ever tasted it before.
Huh.
Yeah, I was out with my siblings. We went to a Beatles show.
Okay.
These people, these four guys, great showmen, impersonated the Beatles in the accompaniment of the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra,
Oh,
and it was great. It was really good. I had Beatles songs rummaging in my head for a solid week.
yeah.
But at dinner, as we were all sitting there, I really had this profound sense of solidarity and interconnectedness
Yeah.
with the siblings.
That's cool.
So let's wake up. Grow up is there's different levels of personal evolution,
Uh-huh.
and we talked about the color codes of the different ways.
Right. Levels of
Um,
consciousness and yeah.
yes, and just to take yourself as far as possible. Um, we talked about it's basically a food fight, the liberal versus conservative versus other forms, which is that you got one level of consciousness, which is authority, um, obedience. uh, you see their heroes are cops and soldiers,
Right.
male, football, the football culture. I like to watch football, but
Yeah.
I'm talking about this sort of like the way the NFL markets itself. Uh, that, and then there's the next one level up is science. You're not as acquiescing to cops and soldiers, but you're scientists, philosophical,
Right.
business,
Mm-hmm.
personal. And then there's that's orange. We call the first one blue. Second one is orange. The third is green, and that's human rights orientation, environmentalist,
More holistic incorporated.
holistic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, to grow up is to move along that, and then the next step is really like the holy grail, which is that you get out of the food fight between these because they all dislike each other
Right.
uh, and
You
fight.
you get to a
Um,
point of not suppressing them, but integrating all of them. And
yes,
yeah. Yeah.
yes, very good. And
Yeah.
also viewing a person that's might be blue or orange, that you're not better than them in any way.
Right,
I'm not saying
right,
that, but you want to encourage their and cultivate their growth
right,
while you're encouraging and cultivating your own growth.
right.
Clean up is so it's wake up, grow up, clean up, and show up. And clean up is uh, that we all have sides of ourselves that we repress from our awareness,
Mm.
and then we project them onto other people.
Yeah, and I remember you, and I still have it on my. I actually pulled it out of a pile of my to be sorted and dealt with. Shadow, understanding our shadows, the shadow work. That's right.
It's just such a big thing
Yeah,
because you can be an astute athlete, philosophical person, scholar, meditator who's woken up. Um, I'm trying to think of what to call it. Charity worker or
yeah,
helper to humanity, dedicated to ideals,
right.
and still have this shadow in which you're projecting all this shit onto people,
Yeah,
you know, and which causes you to act. It sabotages you,
right.
and it's done so. We just had a guy die here, not in my personal life. His name was Andrew Cohen. He died within the last since you and I were last on the air.
Oh, okay,
He was a spiritual teacher who had a huge following.
okay.
Had a magazine. I read the magazine, and then he came out as he didn't come out, but it was revealed that there was all kinds of darkness in uh, his group of followers that were living with and near him.
Oh,
It was almost like cultish.
yeah,
He had the best of intentions, but he had a dark side, like we
yeah.
all do. But he didn't do any shadow work. So
Interesting.
his group fell apart, and this was 10 to 12 years ago, kind of famously.
Yeah,
And um, he moved to India, and he died there, in the last 2 weeks. But he's just a symbol of how this happens frequently.
right.
People who are leaders, but they have a dark side they haven't explored and looked into.
Yeah.
And it's really, really good to do that. If you're
Well,
growing up, waking up, and cleaning up, you're really a powerhouse. What were we gonna say?
I was going to say, it really goes to when I think about that and the poly crisis, meta crisis. There is so much of individuals and groups that are not really living in being their most authentic selves and working on that shadow, right? And I think when we look at how did we get here of a place of distrust, and it starts with those interpersonal relationships and all of the people who don't deal with those shadows and are not putting that authentic version or that person of themselves. I mean, just not even putting it there, just being authentic. And you don't even know what to believe anymore. And it starts with those interpersonal relationships of oh, I didn't even know this person, and I spent so much time, and I followed that, I believed in them for 10 years and we were close, and then it's like then it just sort of shakes that foundation. And I mean, these are happening in so many close personal relationships all over the world. And it's like that's where we distrust spawns. I mean, it's the breeding ground of it all. So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, and I just want to explain a little bit uh, for somebody who's never heard anybody talk about the shadow. I want to explain it just a little bit more detail, which
Okay.
is, let's say I was raised in a family which had a very strong message that I was supposed to be humble.
Right.
And my parents would say, "Don't praise yourself ever." So I have a ill-formed self-esteem. Anytime I would have a positive evaluation of myself, like I'm doing well in something. Oh, but I can't be proud. Can't be proud. You know,
Right.
can't be haughty. Okay, so you push confidence and positive self-image out of the way and into the basement of your awareness, where it doesn't go away. You want it to. You're trying to sacrifice your self-esteem or whatever, but on the altar of humility. But instead, you project it onto other people in a negative way. Oh, he's arrogant.
Right.
And somebody who has a little bit of that really pisses you off. It really sets off your Geiger counter,
Yeah.
you know, and you project your own um, undeveloped self esteem, which tastes like arrogance,
Mm.
disowned, onto other people, and it creates an issue.
Right.
Um, and if people want to learn about it, they can go back and look at our previous podcast, which talk about shadow work, how to bring that up, be aware of it, and to cultivate, uh, uh, well, how to clean up,
Yeah.
basically. You know, and then the final one is show up. So you're waking up, you're cleaning up, you're growing up, and you're showing up. And showing up is just as simple as saying, "What can I do in this time in terms of actual things?" And first off, actual activities, actual involvements. First off, it's showing up so that you're not kind of distant when you're near your family, but you're actually present for your family. You're listening, but it's also going to things, going to a homeless shelter, going to a demonstration, going to a hospital setting where you can be a volunteer, nursing home.
Right.
Um, this is a movement in our country called, and I think it's really going to come into play if we really do have a worldwide recession. We're going to have to do this, which is what's it called? Mutual aid
Oh,
societies. People can look them up online. You can look up mutual aid society near me, and there's usually you can sign up, and they'll say, this little old lady needs somebody to drive her to the pharmacy
yeah.
on Saturday morning. This person needs a trip to the grocery store. This person needs a ride to the doctor's office. This person needs, oh, he's sneezing again. All right, this person needs a handkerchief. This person needs, etc. And a mutual aid society. It's a network. We're taking care of each other, and we need that right now. So, I just got a text. Is that from my buddy? No, you're back.
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah.
Okay, good. So, and then the fifth thing that's kind of evolved as I'm looking at the Celtic way, and I'm aware of other manifestations of this, is
Yeah.
rebellion through beauty, establishing. Another way that this showed up, Nick, is um, Native American spirituals
Uh-huh.
um, in slavery times. Um, People thought that the slaves were out there singing about God, and they were, but they
Right.
also, Native American spiritual songs were code on how to escape.
Mm.
So it would be encased in beautiful singing, beautiful rhythms,
Yeah.
you know. That'd be one side of it, but they were also communicating to each other, rebellion.
Right. Yeah.
Native American poetry. You know, I have a book in the other room of Native American poetry. I think it's just the same thing.
Yeah.
Um, self um, validation as a culture.
Mm.
We here in the United States don't have to buy into the narrative that Elon Musk
Right.
and the oligarchs are the real America. They're the successful people
Right.
because they have $1 billion. There's no way they're going to understand a quilting bee.
Right. Yeah.
There's no way they're going to understand a bluegrass. Um, they have these things all over the country in progressive neighborhoods
Mm.
where you can go to a house. It's like a house church almost, but it's a
Okay.
bluegrass where you sit there on a Tuesday night and play songs together. Everybody bring their guitars and their ukuleles and their fiddles and
Yeah.
sing old timey songs
Nice.
that establish our true identity,
Uh-huh.
Americana.
That's cool.
Yeah, yeah. So that's that. I do have two poems and a song.
All
Unless
right.
you wanted to talk about things beforehand, before I do.
No, I'm good with I'm good with that. Yeah.
Can you do me a favor?
Yeah. What's up?
Oh, were you about to say something?
No, I was just thinking. You're good. You're good. What's up?
I'm about to play a song.
Uh-huh.
Her name is Lisa O'Neill,
Okay.
and the song is called "Old Note." Old Note. Could you potentially find the lyrics of it and put them up?
Yeah. Lisa O'Neill. And the song title again was
Old Note.
Old Note. Let's see how many. I don't know how many characters will,
Ah,
um, but I can share my screen instead of us
okay,
and put the lyrics up there. So let me see.
beautiful. I'll just say by way of introduction, I had one of my favorite musicians in the world was a guy named Shane McGowan.
Uh
You ever
huh.
hear of him?
No.
He was on a band called the Pogues.
Okay.
They were.
The Pogues, huh?
You've heard of them?
No. The
Pogues. That's for old people.
okay.
Uh, in the '80s, it was
Uh huh.
Irish punk rock.
Ah.
Loved Shane. Loved the Pogues. My poor late wife, Carrie, had to endure a year of the Pogues. I don't think she. I don't think she minded it that much. I think she kind of liked them.
Yeah.
But Shane passed away
Okay.
last year, and I watched the funeral online with tears on my cheeks.
Oh.
And Lisa, who we're about to hear from, stood up and sang a Shane McGowan song, a Pogue song, really beautifully. And I said, "Who is that?" I probably said, "Who the fuck is that?"
Right.
And and she is tapped into um, what Yeats and Lady Gregory were tapped into.
Okay.
The Celtic, and Shane McGowan did too. The Celtic um, soul.
Yeah.
And this song that I'm about to play was the prettiest song, not pretty, but most arrestingly beautiful song that I heard in the year of 2024.
Okay.
I shared it with my family on the Christmas tape that I do. They didn't respond, but nonetheless. I thought it was a beautiful song. Oh, there it is. There it is. Beautiful. I'm really happy. Um,
Yeah.
I'm not sure every lyric that you're sharing is on the song, but
Let's
there
see.
is also this funny little thing that happens at the end of it, where she stops singing, and there's
There is a
a
spoken.
yes, child's voice. A little child starts to talk to an adult, and it's
Okay.
really it made me have goosebumps.
Okay.
So, are you ready?
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right, if I'm the only person that likes this, I'll be, somewhat awkward, but there you go.
The wind whistled you in behind the springtime. Float old note, new among my mind. You hold the note just moves the movement. Let go of the note and so move everything. I can't come to quantify the feeling. I was walking home half in a dreaming. The things that I was thinking I was singing. The wind whistled you in behind the springing. A star rattle rings around the star before me, and spun and swooped and sank and rocked beneath me, and mirrored what I've carried since I met me, and shot me back into the ground below me. And there I met another note long buried, and I sat upon its shoulders was a memory. A home but sea above me's gone so noisy. I almost think I do not recognize me. Feathered friend, dig up and resurrect me. I long to live among the song of birdies, a lawless league of lonesome beauty. Skies and skies and skies above duty. The wind whistles you in behind the springtime. Float all note, new among my mind. You hold the note just moves the movement. Let go the note and so move everything. I can't come to quantify the feeling. I was walking home half in a dreaming. The things that I was thinking I was singing. The wind whistled you in behind the springing. spices like an egg. Well, she said, of course, it's on top. Yes. Well, maybe why don't you just chop it? Then it doesn't bother you. Colors. No, people says no other songs. On the spirits. Sing, I'll come around. Sing, I'll pull my way. Where is your legs? I can ask for
Beautiful.
Isn't it?
Yes. That was good.
I find it to be moving.
Yeah.
I got my smartphone is still playing. There you
Oh.
go.
Yeah. That's pretty.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I find it to be compelling. So, I have two more poems, but I'm only going to read one because we're at 2:57. And I don't want to load us down with too many poems and songs.
Okay. Well, how do you dare pick one of the two?
It's the short one,
Okay.
and it's I guess what kind of compels me a little bit is the fact that it's a woman poet and we had a woman singer as opposed to the male. I like the thought that part of our rebellion is to uphold feminine. I don't know if feminine is the word I'm looking for, but female groundedness and female wisdom.
Okay. I like
Does that
that.
make sense?
Yeah.
Because Trump and them, despite Pam Bondi and that crazy woman in South Dakota, Kristi Noem, it feels like a very male thing, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, very the worst aspect of maleness, and I like rebellion through beauty and rebellion through beauty rooted in female wisdom.
Okay.
Does that work for you?
That works. I got you.
All right, cool. The Heart of the Wood by Lady Augusta Gregory. It's a short poem.
Okay.
My hope and my love, we will go for a while into the wood, scattering the dew, where we will see the trout. We will see the blackbird on its nest, the deer and the buck calling, the little bird that is sweetest singing on the branches, the cuckoo on the top of the fresh green. And death will never come near us forever in the sweet wood. Now, we all know that Lady Gregory knows that she's going to die.
Yeah.
So, death will never come near us forever in the sweet wood is kind of like pauses you to think what she means, what part of her will not die. You know, and that's just I view that as a mystery rather than anything that needs to be defined.
Right.
Yeah.
That is short and sweet, but man, there's a lot in there. My hope and my love.
Did you pull it up?
Yeah, I was just reading it myself.
That's how I thought about it when I read it this weekend. The Heart of the Wood. She's interesting. Yeah. She was married to an industrialist who had a shit ton of money, and died young. He did. And then they had a son together who died in combat in World War One. So twice aggrieved.
Yeah.
And so she built this. She had this estate where all the Irish nationalists, so to speak, the people I'm talking about, came. Maud Gonne, William Butler Yeats, George Bernard Shaw, etc.
Yeah.
Came and spent time in her estate. It had a lake. It had a big tree that people signed.
Wow.
They scratched. I think Oscar Wilde was amongst the group.
Yeah. They all signed the tree, huh?
Yeah. Scratched their names into it. It's called the Memorial Tree. It's still there.
Huh.
With their names scratched in.
Yeah. I think it's good. I think what that brings for me is a sense of peace. And I think we talked about this before in terms of um, in these times, remembering to focus on those things that are in our resiliency toolkit.
Yes.
And it's just sometimes a simple little poem like this that really just kind of lets us shut down the noise and find some beauty and some peace in nature, whether it's in a poem about nature or doing it out, being out in nature,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems to have touched a nerve with you.
Yeah, it's there's peace. It brings some peace to what is otherwise sometimes.
Apparently, the deer and the buck and the cuckoo are all symbols in Irish mythology and folklore of their resilience.
They're symbols of what?
Their resilience.
Oh, interesting. Huh.
Resilience based in nature.
Yeah. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
The deer and the buck and the cuckoo. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's refreshing. Well, see if we have any other we did have a comment from Cats Up earlier about and again how easy it is when everything that is going on to be to have very visceral reactions, and then it feels sort of like just flooding of feelings and overwhelm, and I think that's kind of convenient that I would now see Catsup's comment as we're talking about this poem, because there are things that we can do quickly to bring us back down from those strong visceral reactions to everything, and really feeling flooded. So thank you, Lady Augusta Gregory.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, wherever you are.
And thank you to those who have tuned in to listen to us today. Cats Up, Black Raven Meditation. Appreciate your coming
Somebody
through.
else too. For a long time, it was 4 viewers while we were on the air.
I
Now
think we
it's
even
3.
had 5 at one point too.
Yeah, it was 5.
So, So everybody who tuned in, we appreciate you, and we will do this again in 2 weeks. So take care of yourselves, and I'll be taking care of myself here, getting over this cold.
We'll be back in 2 weeks, and we'll do the William Butler Yeats poem, and we'll delve back into Nora Bateson. We're going to have to get back into that woman.
That's right. Sounds
and
good.
Her great wisdom.
We will. Well, as always, thank you so much, John. We appreciate. We got some last comments. Great show, guys. Thank you, Black Raven Meditation. Appreciate you. But
Thank
yes,
you.
we
Thank
appreciate
you,
you all.
Corey.
Thank you so much.
All right. Peace
All right.
out.
Peace.